Walt Disney is a legendary figure in animation history. His work on Mickey and Friends was integral in making theatrical animation a cultural force in America. And then in the 1950s, he was one of the first people to bring cartoons to this newfangled medium we call television. And then he did what no one else had thought of before. He brought the cartoon world into the real world with his Disneyland theme parks.
At the newcomer to Fantasyland, and through his cavernous jaws, obligingly held open, we float into a new adventure.
During his rise, Walt Disney became a rich and powerful man, a mogul in the entertainment industry. I would think it became more difficult and intimidating to approach him. Probably pretty unlikely that anyone would give him any sass or talk back to him, tell him, no, you did that wrong. And you would never think that the person who would do that would be one of Walt's lowliest employees, a kid from the mailroom. Well, it really happened, and you're going to meet that kid from the mailroom, Tony Benedict, a guy who also made quite a name for himself in animation history as one of the original creators on the original classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, and more. You're going to hear the story of Tony Benedict asking Walt Disney for an autograph and then sending it back and saying, I want it done better. That's coming up next. Hello heroes, Your Man 4K is back with a fun anecdote from cartoon history. Tony Benedict has had a distinguished career in animation, getting his start on 1959's Sleeping Beauty. But in addition to starting out at Disney and doing tons of classic cartoons for Hanna-Barbera, Benedict has worked with the classic Warner Brothers characters, he's worked with the Pink Panther, he's even produced his own independent animated feature-length film. It seems he's touched just about every corner of classic cartoon history, so I had to ask him, how did it all start?
I came to Disney in 1956. 19 years old. I had submitted some artwork to the studio. They asked me to come in, interviewed me, gave me a test drawing, a series of in-betweens. So I apparently aced that test because I got an immediate hiring. I began there at Disney as a traffic boy.
Now, I gotta break in here. When Tony says he worked in traffic, basically he's saying he worked in the mailroom. At some big companies, they would not only need to handle incoming mail, but also memos and communications back and forth between different offices and departments within the company. And so, while Tony waited for an opening in Disney's training program, he worked in traffic.
I began there at Disney as a traffic boy, waiting for a break in the training period. And while on that route, it was every day I delivered messages around the studio. On my route was Walt Disney's office. I stopped by every day and dropped off mail. On one occasion, I asked his secretary if she would give a photo that I had brought with me to Walt and ask him to sign it. She took it in and she came up with it signed. I thanked her, and when I got home, I looked at the photo, and Walt had signed it on the darkest part of the photo, leaving the big white space free. So the next day, with the audacity of youth, I asked her if she would take it in and ask him to do it again. She smiled at me, reached into her drawer, and brought out a photo with Walt already signed by a publicist, also in the wrong spot. I have both of those photos still. And you can see them both in my book that coming up very briefly. Anyway, I got the best training you can get on the planet at Walt Disney Studio. There were no animation schools in those days. It was one-on-one, a master animator with a rookie trainee. That was me. I loved every moment of it. And when I got up that little period of training, I was put into a unit in a bullpen of young trainees like myself doing in-betweens on Sleeping Beauty. I wasn't there very long before I was invited to or I should say assigned to a special services group made up of 5 people, headed up by veteran animator Bob McCrae. Our job was to take material from the morgue of Disney all the way back to Snow White, pieces of animation that could be adapted for Walt's TV show, a weekly show, which ate up a ton of footage.
Disney's Disneyland.
When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are.
Each week as you enter this timeless land, one of these many...
So we turned out as a group about 90 feet a week, whereas Sleeping Beauty was cranking out 6 feet a week. That was even more training because I was able to work with all the material that was stored up in that huge morgue. However, eventually Sleeping Beauty came to an end and we were all laid off. However, I was able to hook up with a little studio called UPA who was doing films about Mr. Magoo that had won an Oscar. As an assistant animator there, I also got a break to write stories. And those days, people who wrote for animation had to be animation trained, not working with typewriters. They had to be animation trained and know how to write as well.
And you can see those 2 autographed photos of Walt Disney and Tony Benedict's new book, The Laugh Days of Hanna-Barbera. The book is coming out soon, so when you watch this video, check in the description below. I'll update it to include a link to the book as soon as I get one. And for Tony, of course, he wouldn't end up toiling in the mailroom forever. That opening in the Disney training program did finally pop up. And Tony will talk about that and more of his career in upcoming videos. We'll see you here next time on Hero Journalism.